Hello, it's Caressa. I'm changing it up today.
Hello, it's Maddie. Yes, we are.
You're not watching the Disney Channel right now.
You're listening to
Dreadfully Twisted. So, we're back, guys.
We are back.
And today, we are going to be talking about cryptids.
Ooh.
Probably just one cryptid because I only did research on one. And I was going to read some stories after. But I need to open it, so let me just get there. But
Also, we had a fun weekend. We went to go see Exorcist together, the new Exorcist movie.
oh my gosh, it was so fun.
It was so much fun. It was actually really good. I was surprised. Pleasantly surprised.
Well, okay, I'm going to say something that is probably like people are going to judge me about. But I've never seen the first one.
I'm going to change that. Don't worry. I'm going to have you watch it. We're going to watch it together.
So I really can't base it off of anything because I've never seen the first one. So
After you see the first one, you're going to be like, well, that was a lot better. But the other one was so good. Because it's not like, it was a good movie, but like, honestly, it's kind of good that you didn't see the first one before because then you didn't have any expectations going into it.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what's going to happen. I was just like...
A lot of people, that's why they didn't like it, because they went in expecting it like to be as good or like live up to the old one. Is not going to, because that movie was such a legendary movie.
When does that next movie come out? The Dear David?
I think that comes out this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, I want to see that.
Yeah. Are you busy tomorrow?
I don't know. Probably not.
We're making plans with you guys.
I mean, I just have to go to the store and do dishes.
Yeah.
So.
I'll text you.
Yeah.
I'll check like.
But okay, you're never gonna guess what inspired me to do cryptids today.
Guess.
Specifically the Wendigo. That's in season 1 or 2. I'm now on season 6.
How did I guess?
I have a problem. It's becoming a bad obsession. But today we're going to be talking about the Wendigo or the Wendigo or however you want to say it. I say Wendigo, but
you know,
I hear it
to each their own.
Many different ways. I knew about this before I started researching it because of Supernatural, but you know, I didn't know that much about it. So a lot of this stuff I'm not going to know how to say because it's like Native American language. So I apologize if I mess anything up. Do not hold it against me. So the Wendigo is a mythological. Wow, talking is hard. Oh, just by the way, I might not be able to edit this because we were having major issues with trying to hear ourselves back. So if I mess anything up, I'm sorry. You're gonna hear it raw today probably because I don't know if it's gonna work for me to edit this or not. So just a little disclaimer in there. But the Wendigo is a mythological, however you say it, that word. Cannibalistic monster in the spiritual tradition of Northern American Algonquian speaking tribes. Again, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. It's associated with winter and describes as a fearsome beast that stalks and eats humans, or is a spirit that possesses humans, which causes them to turn into cannibals.
Because that's not terrifying at all.
Yeah. This thing is terrifying. Like, there's pictures of it, and it's just like, what? And like, I'm going to describe what it looks like, so just be prepared. But there are many spellings and pronunciations for the word Wendigo in okay, I don't know how to say the word, but it's Ogibwe. How do you say that? The term is defined as winter cannibal monster, but may derive from the Proto-Algonquian word Neteko-wa, meaning owl. Some legends say that the Wendigo is an emaciated figure with ashen flesh. Others describe it as a giant creature up to 15 feet tall, which is 4.5 meters. That's huge.
Well, that's bigger than any spirit Halloween decoration I've seen in the last
I know. It's very tall.
That's a little scary. That's a little nightmare fuel for you guys.
15 feet tall is like probably as tall as my house.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less, but like that's tall.
Tall.
Or it's a beast that grows larger the more it eats. So it could be more than 15 feet tall, depending on how much it eats. Like, imagine
it eats like so much and it's
like 60 feet.
60 feet.
It's like as big as a skyscraper. Yeah. At that point, it's like Godzilla. Oh gosh. Okay, so the Wendigo may have sunken or glowing eyes with sharp yellow fangs and claws, either or both. The lips are chewed or missing because it ate them.
Oh, ew.
Why would you eat your lips?
That's a little disturbing.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, let me just chew on my face here.
Yum, I need a midnight snack.
So it eats people and it eats its own face.
Interesting combination, but okay.
Yeah, they may be hairless or have fur, so they could be a naked mole rat or a long-haired cat.
There's no in between.
That's what I picture. Or like a yeti. They may have pointed ears, horns, or antlers like deer. And this part is really gross. They smell like rotting flesh and is usually detected first by humans because of the odor that they have.
Ew.
Just imagine, you're just walking by like in the woods and you just smell rotting flesh. Ugh. That's nasty.
I would run.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, it's a Wendigo. Gotta go.
Like, Wendigo, out of here.
But what if it was like a dead body and I could have solved a murder case?
Oh, that's a good question.
See, this is, whenever we do true crime and like mythological creatures and paranormal, this is what happens when we mix them together. We're like, do we stay and solve a murder case, possibly? Or do we run from the Wendigo?
Possibly, because there are ways to kill them.
Oh, yeah.
So, which I'm going to get into in a couple seconds here. That way you can have this stuff on you.
Yeah.
So if you want to solve a crime, if you think it's a dead body, try to solve it, and you just need to have these things. Yep. Okay.
I'm excited. What do we need?
Okay, so I'm going to say this first, but
okay.
Wendigos are believed to have extremely sharp eyesight, hearing, and sense of smell, what did I write there? Sense of smell, and along with superior. Okay, I can't talk today.
Talking is hard.
Okay, they have an extremely sharp eyesight, hearing, sense of smell, as well as superior strength and speed in order to stalk and overpower their victims. They live in colder climates, which are among the woodlands and lakes of Canada and the northern U.S. Wendigos move easily in deep snow and across ice. So, here's where a shaman may be the only person who can subdue and destroy a Wendigo by either using silver, steel, or iron bullet or dagger. But I saw this in Supernatural, so I'm not sure if it's true, but they killed them, so like I believe we could too.
Yeah.
As long as you just have like a silver or steel or iron bullet or dagger, you just be like, oh, you're gonna die here.
Let's get all of them.
Just be like Sam and Dean and just like have like a whole bag of just like stuff.
Yep, exactly.
And then I was supposed to get the shaman description, so just give me 1 second here to look that up because I did not put it in my research because I suck.
Thanks to Supernatural, we're going to be prepared in case we ever come encounter with a Wendigo.
Like, always have salt.
Yeah.
And always have something like silver or iron.
Or all of the above.
Okay. So the shaman definition is a person regarded as having access to and influence in the world of good and evil spirits, especially among some peoples of the northern Asia and North America. Typically, such people enter a trance state during a ritual and practice divination and healing. Yeah, like a spiritual healing type of person. So that's what they are, because I did not know what that was either, and I was like, what is that? Because I have no idea.
Yeah.
There are legends that state the Wendigo's heart must be cut out and melted or burned in the fire before the spirit is gone. So you might have to burn their body.
Wonderful.
The Wendigo is sometimes described as a spirit rather than a physical being. In Cree mythology, the Wendigo is believed to be an evil spirit that possesses humans. The spirit enters a person by biting them or through a dream. Now that's terrifying to
That
me.
is terrifying.
No, what? Because I have really weird dreams all the time. I don't want to get possessed by something in my dream.
Same. That's like some Freddy Krueger stuff. Exactly. I don't like it. That's terrifying.
Don't let me dream of this.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's really scary. I just thought this.
Think of like sunshine and rainbows when you fall asleep.
Yeah. Whenever I said that was really scary, I thought about that Supernatural clip where Dean was screaming at the cat.
That was probably top 5 best moments of that show.
I don't know where I left off before that happened. Oh, it was the dream thing. Yeah, the dream that sounds really scary.
Yeah, it does.
No. Hard pass.
10 out of 10, do not recommend.
But the possessed person becomes cannibalistic and otherwise deranged and violent. Some people are believed to be more susceptible susceptible.
Yeah.
That's a really hard word.
It is.
Some people are believed to be more susceptible to becoming possessed by a wendigo, including those who are greedy or gluttonous, as well as those who are suffering from hunger or starvation. They get you when you're really weak. Sounds like.
Well, that's depressing.
They attack you when you're down.
That's way to kick you when you're down.
Right. The legend exists in oral history of Northern American tribes, which predates the European arrival in North America. Some anthropologists believe the legend started as a cautionary tale about the importance to guard against individual greed, selfishness, and isolation. It was a personification of cold and hunger in a time when human survival relied on banding together and sharing resources, most during like long hard winters of like the northern wilderness. And some also believed it was used to warn children not to go too far into the woods, which I could see both ways.
Yeah.
So, the first known written mention of the Wendigo was in 1636, which was reported by Paul Le Jeune, a French Jesuit missionary living in the Algonquian people, and was in what is now Quebec. I'm stuttering. What is now Quebec, Canada. Lejeune describes a woman who warns of an Achin that may have eaten some tribe members nearby and that would eat a great many more of them if he were not called elsewhere.
Well then.
So it's a good thing he didn't eat more because he had to be somewhere else.
Definitely.
He had plans. He had plans, so he's like, okay, I'm out. Some cases of murder and cannibalism in North America were blamed on a Wendigo. Which this is really interesting because now I'm mixing true crime into this because it's mind-blowing. So, a case in 1879 in Alberta, Canada, a Cree hunter named Swift Runner claimed a Wendigo entered his dream and told him to eat his family.
Oh my god. That's terrifying.
Yeah. I literally put, what? Okay. in my notes because I was like... And I had to dig deeper into it because at first I wasn't going to dig deeper into this. But I was like, I have to look into this because, like, what the heck?
I know, that's crazy.
Like, okay, something in your dream told you to eat your family.
Yeah.
So you eat your family. Like, what's wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
So, Swift Runner's date of birth is unknown. However, he was a Cree Indian who lived in what is now Alberta, Canada. His background seemed normal and he received a solid education. He married and had a family of 5 children. He traded with the Hudson Bay Company, and in 1875, he served as a guide for the Northwest Mounted Police. He was over 6 feet tall and was well-liked. Swift was a mild and trustworthy individual. He was described as a considerate husband and fond of his children. And then in, like, reading this, I saw something that said, it was like in parentheses, it says reports say a little too fond as events proved. So I have no idea what that means because it doesn't say anything further.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what does that mean? Like, it's just weird.
It is weird.
All these traits endeared him to his people and to the traders of the Hudson Bay Company. But this was not enough to allay the suspicion when he returned from his winter camp in the spring of 1879 without his wife and family. When he could not give a satisfactory account of their whereabouts, his in-laws became worried. They decided to tell the Northwest Mounted Police, who had been in the West for just 5 years. that like they were missing and that he didn't say anything. So it's like suspicious.
Suspicious. Sounds a little suspicious.
But Inspector, I have no idea how to say this. It's French, but it's Severe Gagnon. I know I said that wrong. Was given the task of investigating Swift Runner's behavior. He and a small party of policemen accordingly trekked out to the trapper's camp, because he was a trapper too, so he trapped like animals and stuff. Swift Runner obligingly showed the mounted policeman a small grave near his camp. He explained that one of his boys had died and was buried there. Gagnon and his detachment opened the grave and found bones undisturbed. That, however, did not explain the human bones scattered around the camp. They produced a skull, which Swift Runner willingly told him that was his wife, without much like prodding or asking questions about him. He just revealed what happened to the rest of his family. They're just like, yeah, this is what happened. And they're just like, what?
Okay, guess what? By the way,
I killed my whole family and ate them.
I ate them. No big deal, right? This happens all the time. What is wrong with you?
Exactly. What is wrong with you? At first, Swift Runner became haunted by dreams. A Wendigo spirit called onto him to consume the people around him. The spirit crept through his mind, gradually taking control. Finally, he was a Wendigo, and Swift Runner was no longer Swift Runner. The Wendigo killed and ate Swift Runner's wife. When that happened, the Wendigo forced one of Swift Runner's boys to kill and butcher his younger brother. Yeah.
Oh my god.
While enjoying that, the spirit hung Swift Runner's infant by the neck from a lodgepole and tugged at the baby's dangling feet. That's a little harsh.
That is a little harsh. Definitely a little harsh.
It was later shown that he had also done away with Swift Runner's brother and his mother-in-law, though he acknowledged that she had been a bit tough. Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah. What is wrong with you? The mounted police party hauled Swift Runner and the mutilated evidence back to Fort Saskatchewan. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. I know I probably did. The trial began. The trial began on August 8th, 1879. The judge and jury did not view the Wendigo idea in the same light as the Cree. They saw Swift Runner as a murderer, and he made no attempt to hide his guilt. And the magistrate Richardson quickly sentenced him to be hanged. The sentence presented a problem. The police had never before conducted an execution before. Although the Hudson Bay Company had once hanged an employee for murder, this was, for all intents and purposes, the first formal execution in Western Canada. Wow. Crazy.
It is crazy.
Imagine like that. And then, oh, wow. Sergeant Fred Bagley, a forced burglar, was put in charge of the arrangements. He put a burglar? Or wait, that's not what that says. I was like, wait, you put a burglar in charge of hanging somebody?
Oh my god.
Okay, so I think that says a forced bugler. I have no idea what that is. But Fred Bagley was put in charge of the arrangements of hanging Swift. The gallows was erected within the fort enclosure at Fort Saskatchewan. An old army person doesn't say person. I don't know what that word is. Okay, an old army pensioner named Rogers was made hangman. On the appointed morning, a bitterly cold December 20th, Swift Runner was led to the scaffold. Standing over the trap, the cannibal was given the opportunity to address the large crowd that had been gathered. He openly acknowledged his guilt and thanked his jailers for their kindness, then berated his guard for making him wait in the cold. So he just was like, you made me wait in the cold.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, you killed your family, so
yeah.
You probably deserve to wait in the cold.
Yeah, probably.
And it's December. What else do you expect?
Seriously.
Nevertheless, the mounted police have accomplished their first execution well enough. A more experienced spectator, a Californian 49er named Jim Reed, commented, "That's the purtiest hanging I've ever seen, and it's the 29th."
What?
No, that's what he said.
Okay, then.
I don't know what that means. I mean, it was back in like 1800s, so it probably meant something to them then.
Probably.
But nowadays we view Wendigos as psychosis. What does that even say? Nowadays we view as psychosis what Cree thought to be the work of a Wendigo spirit. Okay, so nowadays we view that as psychosis, and back then that's what Cree thought was the work of the Wendigo spirit. At one time, the belt of the parkland that borders the northern plains, it was far from being a rare phenomenon. Usually the symptoms were the same as those displayed by Swift Runner, and in one way or another, most of the afflicted Wendigos met similar violent deaths. Now I'm going to read something that describes... No, I mean, I don't really have to read that. It's like an article that I found. It just describes like what it felt like. Oh, I'm just going to read it. It was pitch black and brutally cold when Swift Runner was led from the cell at the fort jail, I'm not saying that word again, to start his long last walk toward the gallows that awaited outside the swirling snow. Swift Runner had been told to prepare for death and seemed to have heeded the advice. He walked confidently into the yard, seeming much calmer than many of those who were there to watch him die. Most of the 60 people gathered near the gallows had never seen a hanging, and they were nervous and anxious about what was going to happen. Why would you want to watch a hanging?
You were nervous about what was going to happen. Why are you there?
Wow. The sheriff, Richard, had been delayed by the snow and weather and was flustered by his late arrival at the fort. The hangman, too, appeared nervous. The execution had ordered to take place at 7:30 a.m. on December 20th, 1879, with less than half an hour left to go. It was discovered that the crowd had taken the trap from the gallows and burned it as kindling, that the hangman had forgotten to bring straps to bind the prisoner's arms. As the sheriff and hangman rushed to get the scaffold ready, Swift Runner sat near one of the fires that had been lighted nearby, joking and chatting, snacking on pemmican, the thick noose hanging around his neck. "I could kill myself with a tomahawk," he offered, and save the hangman further trouble.
I'll consider it.
What? You just want to kill yourself instead? Wow. You say it like so nonchalantly. He was just like,
"I'll save you guys the trouble."
He's like,
"I got this.
Let me save you the trouble. I don't want to like burden you here. I already killed my family, so I know I deserve to die. So let me just kill myself instead."
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? Swift Runner was well known around that settlement, and it says that he was 6'3" with a strapping build and what a policeman called as ugly and evil looking a face as I have ever seen. He had once been known as a smart and trustworthy, a reputation that won him a job as guide for the Northwest Mounted Police, and as one newspaper story would later point out, his contact with white men, however, ruined him.
What?
Okay.
Also, I think the scariest, most terrifying, disgusting person I've ever seen has probably been Joe Metheny.
Yeah.
He's actually scary to look at. Like, you look at him and it's like a horror movie.
And like, you look at him and you just get that vibe like, oh, you're not a good person.
No.
You're not a good person.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. His face, he is nightmare fuel. What he did, him by himself, just looking at him.
Really quick, have you heard about the painkiller or the Tylenol painkiller killers? Oh my gosh. There's a documentary. It's like a five episode series on Hulu, I believe, or Paramount. It was Paramount. It's called Painkillers. It's about the Tylenol murders in Chicago of the 70s or 80s, where 7 people got killed because there was cyanide in their Tylenol.
Oh my god, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I want to cover that.
Yeah, because that's a good one to do.
Very terrifying, but that also reminded me of that. I'm like, okay, so I'm scared to go out and eat places. Now I'm scared to take like Tylenol for a headache.
Yep. I want to do the I want to cover the vending machine one too.
Yeah, you did tell me about that. I read the article and it was now you don't trust vending machines.
Nope. Can we trust anything?
No.
We can trust our animals.
Yeah, that's true.
We can trust each other.
Yeah. Don't trust bad people.
Yeah. Don't do
Killers.
it. If they look sus,
they're sus.
They're sus.
If they give you that sus vibe, they're sus.
They're sus.
Walk away.
Yeah. Turn the other way.
Just be like, oh, hi, I'm leaving now. Bye. Just go the other way. Okay, so I'm still in the article, but I'm just going to swiftly go over it. Swiftly.
No pun intended.
I'm hilarious. Okay. So, Swift Runner was known to be an ugly customer to meet when on a spree. So ugly that some called him the terror of the whole region. Wow. The police sent Swift Runner back to his tribe where he caused so much trouble he turned the Cree camps into little hells and was eventually turned out from his community altogether, retreating to the wilderness with his wife, mother, brother, and 6 children. I thought he had 5 children. Maybe he had 6. I don't know. The police started to hear stories in the spring. A Cree chief said Swift Runner had turned cannibal, and a hunter reported that Swift Runner's entire family had been killed in the woods, and a squad of officers went out to investigate, couldn't find Swift Runner or his family. Instead, Swift Runner went to the police himself in the spring, telling him that his wife had committed suicide and the rest of the family had died of starvation. But the officers noticed that Swift Runner did not look underfed. The prisoner arrived at the camp in the spring did not look very poor or thin, as if he had been starving, one noted. Suspicion of the story, police traveled with Swift to his family's camp in the wilderness south of the fort. After days of searching, they found the remnants of a campfire with piles of bones and human skulls scattered nearby. This makes me wonder, what if, like, the whole Wendigo thing didn't actually happen?
Yeah.
And he was just so hungry that he was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna kill my family. Like,
yeah.
he was just, and because he said they were starving.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he just killed them and ate them because he was so hungry. That does make sense. But it could be anything here.
Good.
Some of the bones were dry, hollow, empty even of marrow. A small moccasin had been stuffed inside the skull of Swift Runner's mother, a beating needle still sticking out of the unfinished work. Swift was tried for murder and cannibalism as the jury included 3 English-speaking Cree half-breeds, 4 men well up in the Cree language, and a Cree man who translated the proceedings. A leading Cree English scholar was also brought in to observe the trial and ensure Swift knew what was being said. Swift sat calmly throughout the testimony of his witnesses, who described the family being in perfect health when they headed out to the woods, then Swift coming out of the forest alone. He said, "I could not expect to see any of his family because he was the only one left, said one person. I don't know how to say that name, so I'm sorry, I don't want to say it. There is no evidence presented in Swift's defense. As asked if he wanted to say anything, he responded, "I did it." The death sentence was to be the first legal hanging in the Canadian Northwest Territories, an area that includes what now is a province of Alberta. The scaffold was built especially for the execution. An army pensioner was paid $50 to serve as hangman. And he declined to spend the night before his execution with a priest. "The white man ruined me," he said. "I don't think their God could amount to much." Swift, some said Swift had developed a taste for cannibalism years earlier, and he was forced to eat the remains of starved hunting partners to save himself. Others said that he had been possessed by a Wendigo, a flesh-eating spirit that tormented him and gave him nightmares. 2 hours after Swift was led to the gallows, the execution was finally ready to proceed. He was allowed to eat 1 final pound of pemmican before he was tightly bound with a rope and taken to the scaffold, where a thick black hood was placed over his head. The trap fell, and Swift Runner went down with a fearful force. There was a drop of 5 feet. The Daily Evening Mercury reported he died without struggle. The buddy. Yeah. The body was cut down an hour and buried in the snow outside the fort. Sheriff Richard said those who attended the hanging were satisfied with what they saw. Why would you ever be satisfied with what you saw?
What is wrong with you?
Oh I just like to watch hangings on on a Sunday. Like
clap, clap, clap. Yeah.
I don't know if it was a Sunday, but I'm just saying, like, that's what they do in their free time.
That was wonderful. What is wrong with you?
Oh gosh.
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? Here's another quote. Seeing that the Indians are adverse to hanging and that all sorts of rumors were afloat amongst them and half-breeds about deeds of cruelty and they were accompany the execution. Invitations had been tendered to Indian chiefs to assist the execution. He wrote in a report to the government. Some of them responded to the invitation and declared that it was done in such a way they could no more object to that mode of execution. One witness had watched several other executions in the United States, also seemed pleased with the spectacle, slapping his thighs and saying, "Boys, it was the prettiest hanging I've ever seen." How is it pretty?
Pretty? That's the word you use to describe it. Pretty.
It's probably far from pretty.
Yeah.
A head, like, falling off or getting...
Maybe disturbing is the word you're looking for, not pretty. I mean, you might be a little demented if you think it's pretty.
Very demented.
Very.
Very demented. So, another case was in 1907. Among Sandy Lake First Nation community in northern Ontario. The shaman of the tribe, Jack Fiddler, and his brother, Joseph Fiddler, were charged with the murder of Joseph's daughter-in-law, which they strangled to prevent her from becoming possessed by a Wendigo. You kill her before she even has, like, a chance to do anything. Before she even has a chance of actually becoming bad.
Yeah, seriously. What made you think... I don't have the words. Just what is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? Jack Fiddler was a Cree Indian hunter, more specifically a Wendigo hunter, as some reports say. He was born in 1820, who hunted and killed at least 14 Wendigos during his life, or maybe just killed 14 people. Take it as you with a grain of salt. He apparently used to hunt along with his son and Joseph Fiddler, and Pasquan claimed to have killed about 14 Wendigos, some of whom are suspected to be exposed to the spirit or just showed the symptoms of possession while not actually being possessed. This piqued the interest of the Royal Northwest Mounted Police in 1907. Skeptical of the existence of Wendigos and the intentions of the brothers, the department launched an investigation. As they traveled to the area where the brothers hunted, investigators were told of a woman by the name of Washakapique. She's said to be a Wendigo, and Fiddler and Pasquan choked her to death with a piece of string. With a piece of string? Okay. I don't know how you do that, because string's so small, you can, like, break it with your hand.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Must have been some strong string.
Must be heavy duty.
Yeah.
But Pasquan was her father-in-law. Upon hearing this and saying it was enough evidence, investigators arrested the brothers and charged them with murder in June of the same year. Jack Fiddler, who is likely to be in his late 70s to late 80s, escaped prison for a Norway house where he hanged himself. I didn't think that you could live to be in your 70s or 80s back in the 1800s or early 1900s. Like, I thought it was, like, very rare. And, like, diseases.
Yeah.
And, like, they didn't even have fridges.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I think of. Pasquan was left to stand the trial alone without any legal representation, which immediately sends him to hang. During the trial, a local newspaper titled the Montreal Daily Witness ran headlines with the words, "Devil Worship Among the Cree" on it. And white friends of Pasquan, I don't even know how to say that. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I probably am. Pasquan attempted to give testimonies about Cree beliefs and how the practice of Wendigo hunting was seen more as a mercy than a heartless killing. Okay. I don't know how it's not heartless.
Yeah.
Okay. In 1910, Pasquan died in prison from an illness instead of the hangman's noose. Because of this, the Sandy people had to sign the Treaty 5, and it only led to the Canadian government exploiting and forcing the tribe into a reservation Well, that's really sad.
Yeah.
That's really sad. By the I don't even know what word that was. By the early 20th century, the term Wendigo psychosis was used by psychologists and missionaries to describe a culture bound syndrome among Native and First Nation people whose symptoms included delusions of becoming possessed by an evil spirit, depression, cannibalism, violence, and compulsion for human flesh. The syndrome was also diagnosed in historical cases of cannibalism in North America. The existence of the syndrome is disputed by some scientists. Yeah. Reference of the Wendigos in pop culture include Supernatural episode, the Wendigo movie that was in 2001, X-Files had an episode, Charmed had an episode, Haven had an episode, Grimm had an episode, and Blood Ties had an episode. Interesting.
Second one.
Wendigo movie that was filmed in 2001. That is the horrific, like, mythology of Wendigos. Now, I wanted to read a couple of stories that I found on Reddit because I read them and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So I'm just going to read them because they're, like, I think it's okay to read because they're just stories on Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the first one. Just because, like, I wanted to read about it, but I also wanted to, like, show other stories besides the ones that I found about, like, I couldn't find, like, anything paranormal. I only found, like, the true crime ones. The true crime ones could be something else. It could be a Wendigo. You don't know. Like, it could be either or. But here is one on Reddit. It's called Something's Out Here With Us. That already sounds scary. Last weekend, one of my friends brought up the idea of camping. Okay, no. Don't ever go camping.
No. There's your first mistake.
Okay, back to the story. At first, I was opposed to it as it's fall and cold outside, and the idea of having to sleep in a tent with another person just didn't seem appealing. Yeah, it's not.
No, definitely not.
But when all 5 of us talked about it, I realized that maybe it wasn't such a bad idea after all. We decided to do it next weekend, aka now. This morning we went out and bought everything we needed. Tents, snakes, a lighter, and a couple of more things that we don't need mentioning.
Snakes.
Why do you need snakes?
I don't know.
We decided it would be best to do it in the woods 2 hours away from any road or houses. I was particularly upset that as anything could happen from some random person attacking us to a bear sneaking into our tents. But we'd have our car parked in the nearest road, so if anything did happen, we could just run to it. At least that's what some others said. I brought up the fact that it's a 2-hour walk, but of course I was ignored. It's a 2-hour walk?
2 hours?
Oh, gosh. No.
I don't think I'd even walk an hour.
I wouldn't walk 30 minutes.
Seriously.
We drove... Okay, I already read that. Okay, no, I didn't read that. We drove as far as we could before we got out to start walking. I noticed a few things. First of all, no sound of wildlife. No crickets, no birds, no nothing making sound. It felt odd, like something was slightly off. Yeah, no, turn around. Just go back. Go home.
The fact that you can't hear anything, that's so weird. Yeah. Because you would hear, like, you're in, like, the woods or, like, you know, going camping, you would be hearing, like, an owl or, like, crickets or something, like... something.
You would hear something. And like I've seen like things saying if you don't hear anything, like that's not a good thing.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It'd be like either I'm deaf or this is something terrifying happening. So okay, I think
I do notice that he has, or they, I don't know if it's he, she, they, this person has names in here. I'm not gonna say the names.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna refer to his friend as friends.
Yeah.
Where should we set the tents up?
Friend number 1.
Yeah. Where should we set the tents up? Where should we set the tents up at? Friend 1 asked, taking a puff of his joint. Right over here looks good, friend number 2 replied, motioning to friend 1 to pass it to him, who's setting it up. After a little conversation, we decided friend 3 and friend 4 could do it while the rest of us goes out to see if we could find any squirrels to hunt. I doubted it. It didn't seem like this place was crawling with wildlife. Grab my rifle, would ya? I grabbed and threw it at him. Don't worry, it wasn't loaded yet. He catches it, saying a quick thanks, and off we went. We were out there for hours looking to no avail, but there was absolutely nothing. I didn't see any bugs. Maybe we should just go back and eat the stuff we brought, I suggested. Friend 1 and friend 2 stopped walking, to which I assumed meant they agreed. We turned back around and started walking back towards camp. A couple of minutes of walking, I heard a sound. It was quiet, but we all heard it. We stopped walking around. Behind us, there was a deer, except it wasn't normal. Its horns were growing out of its mouth, and it had 5 legs. I had never seen anything like it before, but I've heard of it. Deformed ears. I wasn't too worried. We decided not to kill it because we definitely weren't about to eat it. Definitely too worried about catching some type of disease. I wondered, though, how long had that deer been following us, being so silent that we hadn't even noticed it. We made back to the camp about an hour later. We ended up eating some of the cans of chili we brought with us. We cooked it over a fire we made. The 5 of us were sharing tents, 2 in one and 3 in the other. I was sharing with friend 2, friend 1, friend 3, and friend 4 were in the other. We stayed up for a few more hours, singing songs and drinking beer before we headed off to bed. I fell asleep about an hour after laying down. Click, click, click. I woke up to clicking noises. It took me a second to register what was happening. I assumed it was one of the guys doing something, but in case I grabbed my gun and unzipped the tent. I froze. The deer from before was standing outside my tent, its mouth moving weirdly. Its teeth were clicking against each other every few seconds from the weird movement. It followed us all the way back. How do we not notice? I zipped the tent back up and tried to ignore it. Needless to say, I got no sleep that night. Why didn't you just just go to sleep? What? The next morning, all 6 of us decided to stay one more thing before packing up to where I lost my place. Okay. So the next morning, all 6 of us decided to stay one more night before packing, or to stay. That doesn't even make sense. I'm sorry, but this person did not. Next morning, all 6 of us decided to say one more thing before packing up to leave. It was weird. I felt like something was messing with my mind, that my brain wasn't working correctly. I was scared. I just didn't know what of. Me and 1, 2, 3, 4, and my 4 friends. And wait, and what was I talking about? There was only 6 of us. Wait, 6? Never mind. It's not important. I spent all evening wondering what was wrong with my mind. I could tell the others felt the same way. The night 6 of us went to sleep, 3 in one and 3 in the other. What? I was with friend 2 and someone. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't put my foot on it. That night I woke up to the same clicking noise as the last night, and this time from inside the tent. I was too scared to move. The deer had somehow made it into the tent. However, I felt friend 2 shift to get up. What? I heard him say before getting silent, cutting off whatever he was about to say. What the hell? I heard him say again, slightly louder this time. I felt something move on the left side of which was strange because Nate was on my right side. Oh, I heard friend 2. I'll have to fix that. I got really into it. I heard before I felt someone leap over friend 2. I woke up the next morning panting. Was it all a dream, I wondered? All 5 of us were packed up to leave. Something still felt wrong. No, one of us felt wrong. Friend 2 was off. He talked the same and acted the same, but it was the way he looked. Have you ever heard of an uncanny valley? Like that, I know something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I ignored it. With all of that, with all 5 of us walked to the car, got in, and took off. I couldn't help but feel like I made a mistake, like I was about to unleash something unholy onto the town we lived in, like I did something bad. That is crazy.
It is.
That is crazy. Huh. I have to edit. That was one story.
Oh yeah, I had to look what Uncanny Valley was. I knew the words, but
what is it?
The term used to describe the relationship between the human-like appearance of a robotic object and the emotional response it evokes. Like robots that seem almost human. Like things that look so close to being human but aren't.
That is freaky. Why would their friend say that after they just thought like, oh, my friend just got like
terrifying.
No, don't go camping. Just don't.
Moral of the story: don't go camping.
Don't go camping. We can read a couple more. Do you want to read one? Or do you want me?
Matter. Walking my dog one morning, I noticed strange footprints on the side of the dirt. I looked back jokingly as if I felt something watching me. Nothing, so I kept walking. About 5 minutes later, I turned to my side because I felt something watching me. Again, nothing. Another 3 minutes go by, and I glance to my left, and there's something climbing down a tree. I shrug it off, but then I hear a deafening scream, as that of a wendigo or skinwalker. I start sprinting back to my house whilst it was chasing me. I made it back just in time while my dog was barking up a flame. I rush him inside, and I notice a wendigo standing outside, holding a body much like a bird. I remember wendigos are scared of fire, so I started to make one in my fireplace. I kept it going all day.
Okay, if they're scared of fire, just have a huge fire. have a huge fire. Yeah, I don't know.
Make like a homemade flamethrower or something like that.
You could say like the name.
This one is It's Been Watching Us Sleep. Well, that's terrifying already.
No, I don't want anything to watch me while I sleep. Please and thank you.
Terrifying to even think about. I used to believe it was just my mind playing tricks on me. Now I'm not so sure. When I was around 11 and my cousin being 14, we had went upstairs after a family gathering and everyone went home and it was just me, him, and his dad that was a dead sleeper. So at around 11:30, we were simply playing a few games of Fortnite. So we started hearing footsteps coming from the downstairs before it abruptly stopped. We then heard a deep growl coming from the stairs for around 10 minutes before it stopped. So we decided to close the door, thinking almost nothing of it, until his dog began barking loudly nonstop. So we decided to see what was happening, and we both began moving slowly down the stairs until we saw that the front door was wide open. So we quickly closed it and began walking towards where the dog was, near the back porch door, which was also wide open. Us both now basically shitting our pants. We stood there frozen. I would be too, don't worry.
I would be as well. I'd probably be peeing
Yeah,
myself.
same. We began hearing the sounds of sticks snapping until it stopped and began growling once again. Then we finally heard it as it caked out to me. "Where are you?" It was the sound of my father's voice, and I knew it wasn't him. It sounded distorted and as if it was playing on a loop. Me and my cousin stood there frozen before my cousin spoke up. "Isn't your dad in Texas?" As I slowly turned and looked at him, the voice stopped and we started to hear loud footsteps as they grew closer to the porch. I immediately slammed the door and locked it. We both ran back up the stairs into his room, locking the door behind us. We eventually calmed down, turning on the room lights after about 3 hours of sitting next to each other on his bed crying silently. But we once again began hearing a low growl from his window, but we were on the second floor, so it didn't make sense. I looked over at the window slowly, and I swore I saw something large zipping through the trees. And once again, we began hearing my father's voice again, repeatedly screaming my nickname. At that point, we didn't know what to do anymore. We found a sheet and covered the window with it, and the screaming stopped. As we sobbed under the blankets, we eventually fell asleep. And once we woke up, we kept it to ourselves, hoping that it was just our sleep-deprived minds. The sheet is still there as of today. I don't know what that thing was, but I don't think that they should live in the mountains anymore. Definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
That's no. How'd they get in your house?
Yeah.
How'd they get in your house?
That's terrifying. I would move out of the country.
I would as well. Okay, we'll read one more, and then that'll be it because Here's one that is about a dream. It's really short, but it'll be like the last one. Called "I Had a Dream of Wendigo as a Child, and it stayed with me to this day." I can't remember much of the dream or what age exactly it occurred, but I know it was when I was 10 or younger. I also remember that I had no knowledge of that it was even a thing when I dreamed about it. I just dreamed about it one night. I've done some reading about Wendigo dreams that I don't know what's true or what's not, but one strange different things I noticed about my dream was that the Wendigo was nice. It wasn't threatening or mean in any way. It kind of just stood there, sensed it happened when I was a child. I don't remember it all vividly, but I do remember vividly is that I just sat there and let them touch my face. In a way, I felt comforted, not scared. I can't remember if it said anything, but after that dream, I constantly drew it and showed people asking what it was. No one knew and just blew it off, so I stopped drawing it and kind of forgot about it, but it was always been the back of my mind since. As I said before, I did a little bit of reading or research, so I don't know if it's important to mention or not, but my father's side is Native American, and I also live up in northern Vermont, around 2 hours away from Canada, and where I lived as a kid, surrounded by woods, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what info to trust on online articles and what's true or not, so I'm wondering if that dream could have meant anything and why I had it as a child. That's freaky.
That is.
And you're going to hear my dog because he just broke free.
Oh my goodness, hello.
Hi, Loki.
Hello. How did you get out?
I heard him knock everything down. Please just sit.
Want to say something?
I don't know if he wants to say
Want
anything.
to say something?
You could probably hear him sniffing.
That'll be so cute.
There's the other one.
You want to say
Okay,
something?
we're going to have to wrap this up because they're going to start barking.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for listening this week, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Please send your stories or
Some
ideas, suggestions to dreadfullytwistedpodcast@gmail.com. Go to our Reddit @dreadfullytwistedpod. Follow us on social medias at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok @dreadfullytwistedpodcast. Go visit our Patreon.
Yeah.
If you wanna subscribe and get like exclusive things, content.
We're gonna be
gifts.
making some exclusive videos, maybe some either extra long, some kind of. We might explore some like places, some abandoned places that are like supposedly haunted. We're trying to go to Green Man's Tunnel. That's one that we really want to go to.
Yeah.
That one was.
You might get like exclusive or bonus episodes about like specific cases or paranormal stuff. So
we also might do like recorded episodes. We record some episodes.
Yeah.
So you could see us.
Yeah, so we'll do like videos and you'll get free gifts, stickers, possibly something more than that. Could be like shirts maybe. Cups, we don't know yet, but you're going to get extra stuff if you do go to our Patreon and subscribe every month. So we would appreciate if you would do that just to get extra stuff for yourself. And we thank you for listening to us.
Thank you, guys.
And stay positive.
We will see you next time. Check on your friends.
Yep. And don't go in the woods where a Wendigo might be.
Yeah, don't go camping.
Don't go camping. Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye.